I live in Fort Worth, and right now, teachers are quitting like crazy. I'm talking about left and right. All right. But then I looked a little deeper, and teachers across the country are recording themselves in their cars, empty classroom, parking lots. They are not holding it in. All right. They're done. And I'm hearing the same stories show up again and again, right? Kids who can't read their own notes, like no consequences for violence in the classroom. And then the system, it keeps asking the teachers to do more and more with less support every single year. What's really happening out there?
There are so many teachers quitting right now.
Teaching in the year 2025 is not the same career as it was teaching before the pandemic.
I don't know what's happened to education. It breaks my heart.
I feel like we are reaching a point where like something's got to give, and I don't know that we can keep going like this.
Puts two hands up like this close to my face, and goes,
These kids are horrible. Horrible.
Why do I need to know any of this if a computer or AI can do it for me?
But what's happening now is on a whole other level.
I have 2 hours left of my school day and I'm leaving because I'm so stressed out.
This is going to be one of those videos that I'm going to lose my shit in.
Some of you are not from Texas. It dawned on me that y'all don't understand what's going on here. 800 teachers resigned from Fort Worth ISD. 800. And that's not even including before the TEA takeover, they had closed like 20 something schools and made improvements, drastic improvements to the school, and the TEA still took over. And then some of my clients that are teachers are telling me what's going on. One teacher was told to remove all of her books out of the classroom. One was told she had too many books in her classroom. They're going to remove libraries out of the school and say that they're going to have like virtual books, but it's also to track what teachers are having the kids read or what the kids are choosing to read, and limiting access to certain things that they can read. And so I've been talking about how I'm going to homeschool my kids. My kids are not in Fort Worth ISD, but I do work in Fort Worth and own a business in Fort Worth, and I'm from Fort Worth. But I'm just letting y'all know, when you hear about Texas and everything they plan on implementing in 2030 to elementary schools, the Bluebonnet curriculum, and already currently having the 10 Commandments hanging in all classrooms as long as they're donated, it's so bad. Like, it's bad. Now, you can supposedly opt out. That's nice, but the basics are just, teachers don't want to work there at this point. It's so bad that teachers are willing to resign and lose the option to have another job, because you only keep your pension if you stay in Texas. And 800 teachers are no way going to get rehired there's not enough that are willing to relocate. They're probably either leaving the profession altogether or not going into teaching like right now, maybe taking a break. But I guarantee you 800 teachers are not going to get hired in Texas. So that tells you how bad the situation is.
I don't know how to make this video. I've tried to film it like 4 times and I keep breaking down, but I felt like I owed you guys an explanation as to why I'm leaving teaching. And you know, it's not the students. I love my students, most of them. A couple of them I really don't like at all, but for the most part I like my students, about at least 12% of them. It's not them, you know, it's not even necessarily the hours. I actually don't mind working 13 hours a day sometimes, and then going home and still grading things. And it's not even the pay. I actually think that the pay is a completely reasonable amount. In reality, it's just, I mean, I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm missing out on breakfast. Sometimes I miss out on lunch when my delivery app crashes. I'm being forced to rely solely on Red Bull to get through each day. And I don't think I can do it anymore. I've got a lot of student debt. So Effective immediately, this is no longer Mr. Jan, the teacher creator account. This is Mr. Jan, the investment banker account. I've got a job with Goldman and Sachs lined up. I had to bribe my way in, but it worked. And I thought I'd be a teacher for a long time. I'm sorry, I can't.
There is no amount of money you could pay me to go back and be a teacher again. The school that I used to teach at had their first day of school today, and I am so freaking glad that I'm not there. I loved the school I was at. I loved the students I had. I was also a coach. I loved my athletes, but teaching was not for me. That profession, not for me. I truly think some people can achieve work-life balance in that profession, but I could not, and that took such a toll on me. I love to be social. I love to hang out with people on weeknights, and I protected my weeknights so closely when I was teaching and coaching because I couldn't fathom having people over on a Wednesday. Absolutely not. I love having a regular job where I don't get summer break, I don't get Christmas break, I don't get fall break, I don't get any breaks. I just work every day. But like mentally, so much better. I mean, I think everyone should try teaching because it really gives you perspective and it makes you shut your mouth before you say, well, teachers get so many breaks, blah, blah, blah. Like, it ain't worth it, okay? I could not go back. I couldn't go back. And if you think that you could do it, I encourage you to try because it's pretty easy to be a teacher. All you have to do is enroll in an alternate certification program. I did not study education. I taught high school math for 2 years through an alt cert program. If you think it's easy, you should go try it. That's all I'm saying. It is not easy. And it takes a really special kind of person and personality type to thrive in that role. I do not possess that personality type, and I could not ever go back.
This is day one after quitting my teaching job, and I thought I'd make this video so that one day hopefully I can watch it and be like, look how far you came. But I just had to quit it for my mental health. And yeah, I really poured myself out to the kids every single day that I came home drained. People said, oh, care less, try less. That was never going to be me. I needed to be energetic. I wanted to be funny. I wanted to create a really safe, positive environment, and I loved my kids. But at the same time, there was nothing left for myself at the end of the day. So I needed to quit to get my life back. And no, I don't have anything lined up right now. But I moved to Tampa without a job, so I've been in this place before, and I didn't want to not give my school a 1 month notice. I owed it to my school, who had been absolutely amazing to me, to do that. So no, I don't have a job lined up, but it wouldn't have been fair to them if I had sat on this any longer. I knew it's what needed to be done, even though it was scary. Even though I feel sick to my stomach still because I've always identified myself as a teacher. About to get my AP Lang scores back. I know that they're going to be good. Hopefully that doesn't send me even more into a deeper spiral. But it was never that I thought I was a bad teacher. It was never the actual job that I couldn't handle. I actually felt like a lot of that came really naturally to me. But it wasn't meant for me. So, day one. Excited to see what's next. Hopefully my content creation business will just blossom. I'll go maybe one day can do this full time, my content creation, but not here, not on this account for weddings, my wedding account. But yeah,
I used to be a high school teacher. Here's the single biggest reason why I decided that I couldn't be a teacher anymore. There is no accountability in schools. There's no accountability for students. There's no accountability for teachers, and there's no accountability for parents. Students can pretty much do whatever they want. They got the freedom to be late to class every single day. They can roam around the hallways every single day and not go to class. They cannot do their assignments. They can be disruptive, and there's no repercussions. There's no accountability. And the worst part is it's not really even the student's fault. You can't really blame them because the system is not holding them accountable. Now, there are some schools that have great administration, and they're trying super hard, and they're doing many things to improve the system and to make it better. But most schools, there's no accountability going on. I think you would be shocked if you were to go into school and see what was happening. And if you try to talk to parents, there's a very select few that actually help with it. But the vast majority, they either don't know what to do or they're just completely helpless and they enable it. And there's so many bad teachers that shouldn't be teaching, but there's nobody that's holding them accountable or doing anything about it. And this is coming from a teacher that had great classroom management. Yes, I had some disruptive kids that were hard to keep them focused, and that's normal. But the vast majority of the issues that I experienced was because there's no accountability. There's nothing you can do. You can try to hold students accountable, and they're shocked by it because they're not used to it. That's just one of the reasons why I left. If you have any other questions or want to know anything else, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer.
So, we're all talking about how public schools are not sustainable, right? But seriously, what is the conversation? Because I am a speech language pathologist. I work full-time in this school. So I'm on a SPED team, and we have a school psychologist, a case manager, applied skills classroom, emotional disability classrooms, STEP classrooms, which is an autism classroom. We have every program that you can think of here in our district, and still it feels like we are constantly on fire in the SPED world. Our evaluation list and reevaluation list is through the roof. I've never seen our list so long, and it doesn't seem to be stopping or shrinking anytime soon. I feel like it's so common that we have pretty extreme behaviors, even from students that are in just gen ed, and parents have concerns, teachers have concerns, so naturally they come to the SPED team. And I guess I'm just like, what do they want us to do? Do we just continue to label everything as OHI, other health impairment, meaning that's ADHD, ADD, ODD, whatever the case may be, because they're inattentive, they're hyperactive, oppositional, and but it's not like parents are taking their students outside and getting formal diagnoses from their pediatricians, from their psychologists, from their psychiatrists. Where is the line is what my question is. Where do we say, no, this is something more, and just giving them a label of OHI or language impairment is going to help them? It definitely frustrates me as an SLP because what used to be a true language impairment is now getting confused, and the lines are getting blurred with it being more, in my opinion, a language delay, because the exposure and things that should have been happening before students are entering school aren't happening anymore. There's no formal teaching at home, it seems like, so then they're coming to school with skills that are not aligning with the curriculum as they should be. They don't have that school readiness. I'm getting the referral, I'm completing the evaluations, their scores are showing that they're falling below. And yes, I know that scores aren't everything, but it's like they're falling below. So I just say, no, they don't have a language impairment, it's just lack of exposure, stay in the classroom. But then they're still not going to catch up. So what is the solution? I feel like as an SLP, my job is to always have solutions. My job is to problem solve, truly. And I feel like I'm pretty good at that. I pat myself on the back when it comes to coming up with ideas. I feel very creative and innovative, and I have a hard time taking no for an answer, which I think is a strength of mine. So I don't know. I guess it's just, what are we supposed to do in schools when the lists are so high? We don't have a caseload cap. My numbers are higher and higher every single year. Even though I'm doing my best to get students off, dismiss them appropriately, it seems like I'm never going to be able to catch up. This rant can go on and on and on, because this is the dilemma that's been facing public schools probably since the beginning of time. But it seems like it's only getting worse as the climate of our economy is changing, the expectations of parents and families are changing, the way that technology plays such a huge role in a lot of these families and children's lives. It just seems like they're coming to school, all of our professional expertise are coming to the table to problem solve, to come up with solutions, but then that stops once they leave the building. So what's the point? It makes what we're doing sometimes just feel pointless. And I know what we're doing is not pointless, but if there's no carryover and there's no generalization.
I'm asking for a friend. How am I supposed to teach for 30 more years? How?
Teachers are quitting mid-year again at record numbers. Is one of the reasons why. A student who wasn't assigned to me or my classroom was let into my room by another adult, a teacher's aide, and repeatedly ignored my direction and instructions to leave. Eventually, she repeatedly called me a and threatened me with physical violence, which sent me into a panic attack. I called the office for support, and as soon as the dean of students showed up to my classroom, I left and I went to the stairwell to go cry and have a panic attack. Once I calmed down, which took my entire lunch, I was expected to go back and teach my classes because we had a sub shortage and nobody could cover my classes for the rest of the day. By the end of the day, the videos that the student took of me circulated amongst the student body, and I ended that day sitting at my desk feeling the most powerless and defeated that I've ever felt in my entire life. The student was not given a consequence that was fitting. She was sent home for the day. That was it. I received no apology, no restorative circle from the student or the adult who let them into my classroom, and the paraprofessional received no disciplinary actions. He stood in my classroom and allowed his student to speak to me in a degrading, violent, and disrespectful manner. After that class period was over, I had several students come up to me and say that they wanted to jump to my defense, but they were also afraid of that student and afraid of for their own safety. That's when I knew the profession I once loved was no longer the profession I needed or wanted, and I left a month later. And that story is not unique. Teachers aren't leaving because they don't care about the kids. They're leaving because the system no longer lets them teach kids. They're not allowed to teach self-management. They're not allowed to teach respect or accountability anymore. We are told to keep the peace, keep the bodies in the room. Some are even told to pass at 20%. Just get the kid the diploma. Pass them along so that the data looks good. But when we do that, we're not protecting the students. We're doing them a disservice because they are walking into a world that will hold them accountable. We could have taught them how to handle that with grace, empathy, and reflection. But instead, we're told to look the other way. Teachers quitting mid-year every single year is not an exodus. It's self-preservation. And deep down, it's heartbreak because they want to stay. The system is just making it so that staying is at the expense of yourself and your own family.
I subbed for 8th grade today, and it was awful. And I don't even really want to talk about it. It was bad. They're unhinged and they're chaotic, and it's frustrating because I can't do my job. I can't help them be successful because they won't let me. It was such a bad day. It's such a bad day. I'm in such a bad mood.
I start second quarter of high school with my sophomores, asking them to go big in their heads. Like, dream your biggest dream. Is your dream to be signed with the NFL, win America's Got Talent, get a full ride scholarship for a university, become the first brain surgeon at the age of 18, win NASCAR? And I do this for a specific project, but whatever. Over the years, these answers have given me a lot of insight as to what's going on with a generation. 10 years ago, everybody talked about wanting to go to college or wanting to get into an internship, and that was really a focus. 5 years ago, it felt like so many people wanted to be doctors and nurses. I think that maybe had something to do with the pandemic, but the last 5 years have been awfully rough on our young people. They are growing up now during a time where the youngest of Gen Z, who are just getting in through high school, are the ones who are really seeing a world that does not have a lot of hope in it. And it's showing in their answers. Instead of dreaming of accomplishing things, instead they have things like, I won $2 billion. I won the lottery. I just won a new truck. I won the lottery. I won the lottery for $2.5 billion. I got $100 million. I won $1 million on Family Feud. There's a handful of kids in there who said things like, I wanted to cure cancer, or I got drafted into a certain team. But the majority of them were all about getting money quickly. We've lost the ability for our young people to dream of doing something and being successful at something in this world. And instead, what they see is exactly what the adults of the world have offered them, which is the only way you can survive is to have a lot of money. Forget hope, forget dreams, just get cash. And I am so disappointed, not in these kids, but in us as an older society who have built a world that's all kids can dream about. So one, adults, this is my call to you to do better. Offer hopes and dreams. And Gen Z, I need you to know there is still hope in the world and that chasing what you really love is worthwhile.
Okay, this is becoming a genuinely concerning issue. As a substitute teacher, I am encountering a really concerning number of students who truly do not see any value in learning because, as one of the 4th and 5th graders that I was teaching the other day asked me, why do I need to know any of this if a computer or AI can do it for me? A little girl didn't want to learn how to read because why would she need to when she could have the computer read it to her? Why would she need to know how to count when a calculator could do it, or when she could just take a picture of her math problem and have the AI do it for her? This is a legitimate issue because if for whatever reason we lose the ability to have access to these things, we have an entire generation of kids who's going to be entirely helpless. without the internet, and that is not okay. If you as a parent are encouraging this behavior and allowing your child to use AI for everything, you have a problem, and you need to be teaching them otherwise.
A message to anyone out there who thinks that teachers have it easy just because we have time off. I have 2 hours left of my school day and I'm leaving because I'm so stressed out. Between all the requirements that our district offers and the students' behavior, their lack of trying, their apathy for school, parents that don't give a shit, they don't care, they don't answer phones, they don't discipline their kids, and kids who feel like they're going to commit suicide because they're getting bullied. You have no idea what it's like being a teacher. You have no idea. I don't want to hear a person ever in the history of ever say that this job, we're lucky, we have it easy, we get so much time off. You have zero clue what all it takes to be a teacher.
Sometimes these kids, I don't understand how they ended up to this point. You know what I mean? Like, I teach 8th grade history, and I have 110-ish students. 2 of them are reading on grade level right now. 18 of them are at a kindergarten level. 55 of those students are between a 2nd and 4th grade level. That's a lot of them. And that's typical of what I've seen lately from students. But it's not just literacy. It's not just literacy, and it's not just like lack of content knowledge. It's not just critical thinking skills. It's basic thinking skills. My students can decode almost nothing. They cannot apply inference. They cannot process questions that are longer than a sentence. They cannot connect cause and effect. They can't track multi-step ideas like in a political cartoon. And it's scaring me a little. Like, I see it every single day. I had a kid yesterday, 4 kids actually. This happened in every class. We were doing guided notes, supposed to be a real easy day. It was review. They wrote down Maryland was founded as a safe haven for Catholics. It was on the board. They wrote it down. And before we moved on, I call on a student and I ask, hey, where were the Catholics one more time? And these students, what they do is they look at me, and then they look at their notes, and then they look at the board. They look back at their notes. And some of them never answered me. They never figured out the answer. It was wild. And I kept giving them hints, like rephrasing the question and saying, like, it's in your notes. We just wrote it down. We just wrote it down. Where are the Catholics? It's on the board. And they never got it. They can't read their own notes. Not, and I don't mean their handwriting. I mean, like, they can't make heads or tails of it on the page. I had a kid today. I have these extra credit assignments, 3 of them. They're on the wall. They could turn it in at any time. And I think they're pretty easy. Like this one, and it replaces your lowest daily grade. So like end of the quarter, lots of these start to roll in. This one says, on a separate sheet of paper, choose 4 principles of the Constitution, and for each one, write what it means in your own words, an example of how it works in the U.S. government today, and a personal example, how that principle might show up in your own life, school, or community. I wrote them an example, and I labeled it, do not use the example, and I even gave them a checklist at the bottom. Make sure you have these 4 things so you can get full credit before you turn it in. Make sure you have the 4 principles and the meaning and the examples. Make sure it's 1 full page. And this student just turned it in, and I read it. First of all, they don't write it on a separate sheet of paper. I've only had 1 kid this year do that. They just write like in the spaces of the instruction, like in the margins and stuff. Very bizarre. But like they just don't do the assignment. It's like they don't understand because it's not written in like a multiple choice format. This is exactly what this student wrote. They wrote the principle's definition in the student's own words. They rewrote the instructions. The whole thing. Even the example where it says, do not use this example, they just copied the instructions and wrote them again. And then checked off the checklist, even though like You didn't do it. And this student, just like the students yesterday, I don't think they're fooling with me. This is a student who's doing extra credit on their time off. They genuinely want to bring their grade up. I know them. But like, is that what you think that the extra credit assignment was? You sat there and thought like, yeah, she wants me to copy down the directions and then turn it in. But no, they didn't think that because they didn't think anything. These kids have a frightening ability for information to go from their eyes to their hands and not pass through the brain at all. Like, what do we do, y'all? That ship is sailing across the ocean and there is no one at the wheel.
I don't know what's happened to education. It breaks my heart. I wanted to be a teacher since I was in the 4th grade. Now I'm a teacher and I'm miserable a lot. I love the act of teaching. I love changing students' minds and helping them develop into smart individuals. But I don't do that. I don't get to teach. I spend my day managing behaviors and teaching students how to regulate their emotions. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a behavior specialist. I'm a teacher, and most of my job is managing behaviors. Most of my job is reaching out to admin and parents. That's not what I signed up for, and that's why so many teachers are leaving the profession. I always thought public education would be here. I always thought it would be a good option. I didn't think you had to have money in order to get a good education, but anymore I'm beginning to think it's done for. I just had a comment and somebody said education is failing because students are running the classroom and teachers have no authority. And that's true. I just watched a video of a teacher getting pepper sprayed by their student in the school because they took their phone because it was being used to cheat on a test. And there were people defending it. That's crazy. That's really crazy. Happy World Kindness Day. Don't forget that everyone is a human being, even your teachers, and even if they assign you work that you don't want to do, and they spent time making it fun for you.
Hi, every video that I have seen on my For You page lately has been talking about the children of today and what it is like to be a teacher and the state of education and blah, blah, blah. And so this is my formal submission. This is my submission on what behaviors I am seeing in my classroom and how I'm handling it. Because this year has been different than any other year before. And we say that every year, but genuinely, I feel like we are reaching a point where like something's got to give, and I don't know that we can keep going like this. So this summer, when I was out spending all of my personal dollars from my personal paycheck on things for the upcoming school year, I went to the teacher store that was going out of business down the road from me, and I purchased this pack of plastic magic wands, right? They came in a myriad of colors. I bought them. I came to work. I put them in this cup, and I've kept them. We have not used them all year. Today, finally, I was like, we're going to get the wands out, because if you are not in education, maybe you don't know this, but right now, in order for students to want to do anything, it has to be fun and it has to be exciting. And if they don't think it's fun or exciting, they're not going to do it, and they're going to complain the whole time. They're going to complain anyways, but like, they're going to complain the whole time. They're not going to do it. So we are doing an activity where every group needed a leader, and we were going to pass who was the leader around as we went through the rounds of the thing. And I said, pick out your leader, raise your hand, who's your leader? And I went up to each table with one of every color, and I decided like, oh, I think that you are this purple wand. And I like gave every leader at their table this plastic wand. I made a whole big to-do about it. And these were not expensive. I'm not gonna act like they were super expensive, right? I'm not the teacher with the Hello Kitty Funko Pop on her desk, right? That's not what's happening here. They were pretty cheap. I bought them on sale as that store was going out of town, out of business. But I did spend my own money on these. And today, no sooner than I had passed them out, I watched a child look at me and then break it. Just broke it right in half. Something that we didn't even need these for, right? We could have done this whole activity without the magic wand, but I was trying to make it exciting and fun. I try to make class enticing. They just broke it. And then when I was upset that they just broke the wand that we've never even used before, that I spent my own money on this summer when I was spending my personal vacation and time off school looking for things to make their lives better, they just snapped it in half. And they don't care, and they're not sorry. And when I was upset about it, he laughed at me. So it's not like it's ever going to get better. You know, like he's not going to care, and this isn't fixable. And I'm just going to throw it away, right? Like that's that. It's a plastic wand. I can order more on Amazon, but it's not even the point. They just actually really don't care. And to the point that I don't know what we're going to do about it, but like something's going to have to change. So talk to your kids about kindness, because even though this is just a crappy plastic wand, it's not just this. It's like all the things that they've broken from me, that I've given them. It's things that they're destroying on purpose. I don't know that I'm even going to post this, but this is how my day went, and this is my formal submission as to why your teachers are tired and quitting.
10 things kids no longer know how to do, and I don't know why. Number 1, read a clock with confidence. They're always asking, what time is it? What time is it? I'm like, look at the clock. They're like, I don't know how to read that. And they say that to you with confidence. What's happening? Number 2, write in script. Whatever happened to writing in script? I love writing in script. I wish more of them knew how to do this. This is like a lost art. I'm sorry. I love writing in script. I prefer it over print, but they don't teach it in schools anymore. We need to bring that back. Bring it back. Number 3, memorize phone numbers. They don't know their parents' numbers. They don't even know what apartment they live in. They don't know what street they live on, which brings me into number 4. They don't know their address. We ask them, where do you live? I live down the block. Well, what's your address? I don't know. I'm talking about 3rd graders, y'all. 3rd grade. And it happened last year when I taught 2nd grade also. Number 5, they don't know how to count money. They don't know how to count money. And it's partially not their fault, right? Because we're always using cards, Apple Pay, things like that. But if you give them a few coins, they don't even know the names of the coins. They don't know the value of the coins. They can't add it all together. Like, what is happening? We got to bring it back. We got to bring it back. Know how to count coins. And you go over it in 2nd and 1st grade. So I'm kind of lost as to why we don't know how to count money, but okay. Number 6, they don't know how to tie their shoes. They have these fancy shoes and they don't know how to tie their shoelaces. Some of them have Velcro, and hey, if it works, it works. But I mean, come on, we should know how to tie our shoes. At 8 and 9, like, what's happening? What number did I get to? I don't know, 6 or 7? Anyway, the next one, they don't know their parents' names. I'll ask them, what is your mom's name? They'll be like, I don't know. You don't know your parents' name? They don't know where their parents are from. Like, do you speak to your parents at all? Y'all, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Next, they don't know what year they were born. Some of them can tell you their birth date, but what year they were born, they don't know. Nor are they interested. I don't know. Next, they don't know how to use a dictionary. Now, yes, everything is on the phones now. They use iPads and things like that, but still being able to put things in alphabetical order. They don't know what something means, but they're also not interested in figuring out what it means. Yeah, now they have dictionaries on their phone where they're able to look things up, but to actually look it up when you know that you don't know about it, like, there's no effort being put into that at all. So, of course, they're not going to use a dictionary. They don't even use their phone. All they have to do is copy down what the word is and read what it means. But they're not even going to do that. So, And last but not least, I think this is number 10. If it's not, y'all fill some down below. The last one is how to follow multi-step directions. If I tell them, go over there, get me that book, and then when you're done, wipe that desk off and then bring me the paper out of the book. They go, oh, okay. They go to the book and then they be like, what did you say to do again? Yeah. You're not listening. You're not listening at all. And it's a problem. I don't know, parents, if y'all can help us out, we need to go back to basics. Can you please help these kids out? Because they're coming to the classroom lacking the basics, and it's a problem. We're going to do our part as teachers, but we just need a little help. We need a little extra help at home. Please, please, please. We're a community. We work together. So let's set our kids up for success. Let's set our students up for success. And let's work together and try to just bridge some of these basic gaps. Please. Thank you. If you're a teacher, definitely leave some that you've noticed that kids don't know how to do anymore. Over the years, you're finding that they don't know how to do it and they should. Drop it down in the comments. I'm interested to see what challenges you guys are up against. All right, peace.
I was not exaggerating when I said that I'm truly concerned about this younger generation that's coming up. And for reference, the generation I'm referring to is Alpha. So it's my children's age group, and their ages are 10, 8, 6, and 4. So let's group it together and say 13 and under. I made a video about this a few weeks ago, and I explained some things that I'm witnessing, the inappropriate behavior that's happening in front of me and completely ignored by the adults around them. So the response was pretty similar. A lot of people are feeling the same way as me, the same concerns. And I said, wow, I have a lot of stories I can tell if you want to hear them. And everybody wants to hear them, so that's what I'm going to do. And lucky for you, something happens every few days, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the most recent. So over the weekend, my son had a soccer game. My son is 6 years old. So he's playing with other children that are also 6 years old. So I'm sitting on the sideline with my daughter and my son, and my husband is behind me playing catch the ball with my littlest. So both teams get on the field. The other team starts going like, oh, you're going down, boo, like whatever. So I think to myself, oh, they're a little rowdy. Okay. Game starts. Well, there's one kid on the other team that notices that we're all actively cheering for my son. Okay. So this child on the other team, mid-game, walks over to me, a grown woman, puts two hands up like this close to my face, and goes, psh, 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 you're, except he said it. I have to mouth it because of TikTok. He said the words, you're 6 years old. There's no other way to describe how I felt. I was in disbelief. My daughter and son are sitting with me. They're in shock. The ref is looking at me completely in shock. I go to turn to my husband to tell him, like, this is what happened, but he had already seen it. He was making his way over to the coach, okay? I stand up and go, where is this child's parents? Where is his parents? Who's his parents? Well, guess what? No one claimed him. So that coach ends up pulling that kid out of the game. And I was like, all right, this is it. We're going to find out who his parents are, because surely they're going to see him be pulled from the game. Well, guess what? His parents were actually sitting on the end of the field, knee deep in their phones, completely unaware of anything going on. They had no idea that their son had just done this. This video is already getting really long, so to avoid me going into another minute of talking, I'm just going to end with this, and I'll go into details maybe another time of how I know this. The most disappointing thing is those parents left without even knowing that this took place. Yeah. Can you imagine?
At this point, y'all, I just need to start a documentary. There is no way that it's 11:15 and I'm on the brink of tears because I want to go home so bad. These kids are horrible. They don't care about learning. The parents don't hold them accountable. They don't make their kids hold themselves accountable. The admin does not hold the parents of the children accountable. They say they hold the kids accountable, but they go to the office and they come back and they do the same thing. It's awful. I have a parent in there with me for some of the kids that have disability, like different things. Like, she's in there to support me. She watched me teach a whole lesson. I explicitly taught this lesson. I used all of my resources. The students had studies weeklies out in front of them. I had the article up on the board. We went article by paragraph. We broke it down. I asked them questions about it. We dissected the pictures, the whole nine. I did my job. I'm pausing, asking them questions. If you're a teacher, you know, and you use Studies Weekly, like, you know that at the end, like, they do there's a little quiz just to check for comprehension, right? So we get to that point, y'all, and only my same 5 students could answer the questions. And it was simple things like, who was Benjamin Franklin? Was he a doctor or an inventor? They're saying a doctor. We had to learn, mind you, I teach first grade, but we had to learn the word perseverance because that is one of his character traits. It means don't give up, keep trying. That's how I explained it to them. I asked them, does perseverance mean kindness? All of them but 5 said yes. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how else I tell them the sky is blue. What color is the sky? They say red. This is deeper than education. This is deep, like, baby, don't get me to diagnosing them. And then on our way out the door to lunch, because y'all know I have to leave to lunch or I'm going to spaz. But on our way out the door, one of the kids spit in another kid's face. Just spit. And before that, the same little girl that I made the video on, 2 other of my videos on with the parent, y'all, she's been hitting people all morning. I talked to her at 7:40 about hitting my nonverbal, putting her hands on. She didn't hit him. She grabbed my nonverbal autistic little boy's arm. Why are you touching him? He does not mess with nobody. Why are you touching him? Spoke to her about that. Then on the way to specials at what time they go? 7:46, because I was running late because of that incident. She grabs another one of my autistic students' face. Why are you touching her? Mind you, this little girl has already had a swarm report and been referred to the counselor for a bullying incident on the bus. She hits, she steals, she cusses, and all her mama want to say is she still believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and she not going to change overnight. She a kid. I'm fed up, y'all. I just sent a long email citing the code of conduct in the student handbook, student and parent handbook, letting my admin know I have exhausted all of my resources. I can't take recess from the little girl because her mama say it's illegal. So what else do you want me to do? And at what point is a suspension going to be given? I've asked for the removal out of my classroom. They won't grant it. So, okay, now I'm going to cite what y'all have in black and white. So now what? Now what? They put so much weight and emphasis on the teacher. What about the kids? What about the parents? Like, I can't make a 6-year-old do nothing they don't want to do. Because Lord forbid I put the pencil in their hand and make them write it. Oh, now it's abuse or something. Like, we can't win. We cannot win. Like, I'm about to get my Chick-fil-A and I'm about to go and I'm about to sit at my desk for the rest of the day because I can't teach. I don't know what else you want me to do. I've tried.
Halfway through the project, I had 5 kids come up and say, "Can we do something else now?" And that was the moment I realized our kids don't know how to stick with something anymore. I've been teaching since 1993. And yes, we have always had kids who struggle to focus. But what's happening now is on a whole other level. If you're just meeting me, I'm Melissa, and I have been teaching forever. About 7 to 10 years ago, I started to see a shift. Suddenly, every child had a phone or tablet, and parents, understandably, were using them to keep their kids quiet. Of course, I did it with my own kids sometimes too. But now, it's different. Kids aren't playing outside. They're not learning how to be bored. They're not learning conflict resolution skills. And they don't know how to listen or sit still anymore. I used to show a movie that connected to our lesson, and the kids were so excited. Now I've got kids asking to skip it. They literally can't just sit and watch. Do you remember how it used to feel when the teacher would pull out the cart with the big TV and the VCR attached? Yeah, not anymore. Now kids need constant stimulation. So yes, focus issues have always been around, but nothing like what I've seen in the past decade.
There are so many teachers quitting right now in America, and I can guarantee you it's related to these 3 things: student behavior and how there are no consequences for horrible student behavior. Number 2,
No support from admin at all with the horrible behavior. And then number 3, the amount of work that teachers put in does not equal our take-home pay. And I know what you're gonna say, but you get paid for summer and for your breaks. Honey, our salary is broken up into 12 months, but we only get paid for the time that we work. They just do teachers a favor and divide that by 12 so we get paid through the summer. But the amount of work that we do outside of the classroom, insane. Some of y'all wouldn't last a day in our shoes.
Teaching in the year 2025 is not the same career as it was teaching before the pandemic. And I think a lot of people just aren't talking about it because the people who were in it before the pandemic are the only ones who have seen how drastic of a change this is. And if you are somebody who's thinking about becoming a teacher, you are basing that sentiment and that feeling and that draw toward the profession based on your experience as a student. Your childhood memories, even up to high school, is not the same environment. If you were in high school when the pandemic started, you still knew what it felt like to be in a real elementary school class, a real middle school class where there was projects and there was creativity and the curriculum wasn't scripted. And the change isn't entirely because of the pandemic, but the pandemic is a great marking place that divided this. It's the continental rift, right? It's because before the pandemic, teachers were the curriculum. There was a curriculum to follow, but it was more of a pacing guide. And now we have what's called a scripted curriculum. And you would be shocked by how many teachers have a scripted curriculum. And this means that teachers are not the autonomous professionals. Teachers are not the ones who earned their degree and they have the depth of subject knowledge and they are the ones who are deciding what happens every day. The script is. They're going by a script. And the idea behind the script is that any administrator can walk into any classroom on any day of the year and everyone will be on the same page, literally. And this, plus all of the additional duties, responsibilities, and things to cry over in teachers' lives, is the reason why so many teachers really have to stick to that script, is because they literally do not have the bandwidth emotionally, intellectually, physically to do the things that they want to do, even if they have been teachers since the 90s, since the 2000s. Teaching is not the same, and it has gone so deeply into this hole that it cannot be the same again. And this is why the shift has happened where behaviors have escalated crazy. It's not because of just parents, it's not just because of students, like it's all of these conditions together. Behaviors are not going to go back to the way they were before. The environment of a classroom is not ever going to go back to what you thought it was before. Everything has changed so drastically, so quickly, and in the wrong direction that it is irretrievable. I know this in my heart as somebody who was a teacher from 2014 to 2022. And I know this in my heart as a parent who is observing these changes going on. And I know this in my heart as somebody who has very close friendships with teachers who are creators on this app. People often ask me, would you go back? I cannot go back. There's not something to go back to. It's not about the money. It never was about the money. That's not why I left education. It's about the conditions and what's going on and how this is impacting teachers and students. It's no longer an environment that I can see myself ever being in and not wanting to scream every moment of the day. I needed the freedom and the autonomy that I was trusted as a professional. And if I go back into a school, I do not have that freedom. I do not have that autonomy. I do not have that trust. I am not considered the knowledgeable person in the room, even though I have the responsibility ultimately at the end of the day for every learner in that room. So you get all of the responsibility, but with none of the autonomy. Schools are the narcissistic controller and the one who's profiting from the teacher's efforts, and teachers are the victim in the abusive relationship. And the students are the ones who are just catching the strays.
Here's my quick check-in for the day. First period drove me nuts. That is my only 10th grade class. And what I'm learning is that they think everything is funny. Everything is hilarious. They don't take the work seriously. Let me show y'all. So I read through a poem with them, right? And I asked them to read this on their own. This is the passage. 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. This is too much, miss. 3 paragraphs is too much. And he says it with a smirk and a smile. And it made me mad. Because what do you mean reading a 3-paragraph passage is too much? That's too hard. How many words is this? 10th graders. Mind you, I remember reading Beowulf in 10th grade. Is that not what I was reading in 10th grade? Like, reading it and trying to comprehend. And they want to complain to me about 3 paragraphs. 3 paragraphs. I started contacting parents. Because if I'm stressed, you're about to be stressed with me. I'm not going to be the only one stressed in this situation. No way in hell. Please talk to them about taking school more seriously. Because what are we here for? What is your expectation when you walk into this building? This is an English class. We're shocked and appalled and disappointed that we need to read and write. And I am asking them for the bare minimum. And they still complain. I'm over it. I'm done. I'm tired. It's exhausting. I have to repeat myself 1,000 times a day. And I just don't understand the confusion. Like, I don't get it because I wasn't this type of student. So I'm having a very hard time being, what's the word? Understanding. And I look at myself as a very understanding person, like very understanding, very lenient. But I'm having a really hard time being sympathetic to their situation because this is nothing. And yet we're complaining. We're going into 5th period. And it's an early release Monday, and this is how I'm feeling.
So today is the day that I left teaching after 11 years. And I'm honestly not sure how to feel. To cut a very long story short, I requested for my hours to be reduced. Since I had Evelyn 8 years ago, I've always worked the first part of the week because of childcare. They've asked that I do the latter 2 days and can't make that work with childcare. I've worked in the same school. I did my teacher training at that school. And those children and the families I genuinely love. As a teacher, you don't go into it for the money. You go into it because you love teaching and I love being with the kids and hand on heart. I do think I'm a good teacher. But we are losing, as an education system, so many good teachers because of how unflexible schools are when it comes to mums. My childcare isn't negotiable. I'm sad because being a teacher has been such a big part of my life. But I refuse to put work before my own family, and I feel like I have been backed into a corner. As hard as it is to go back after maternity leave and leave your children at home, once I'm back in that routine, I loved having that space for me. But I'm also a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Let's see where this one goes.
This is going to be one of those videos that I'm gonna lose my shit in. Okay, I am so sick and tired of sitting through IEP meetings because they're bull. In my state anyway. They're excuses. These people writing these IEPs for these kids spend maybe a half hour every evaluation, which is what, every 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even more than that. And then they write it on a piece of paper that is complete bullshit. They're not spending every day in the classroom where these kids are terrors, okay? These kids are spitting, they're hitting, they're kicking, they're hurting their friends consistently. But because the IEP meeting went well, mom's all happy about it. And your kid's still a hole. You changed the diagnosis to autism. Well, big deal. The mom said he's pooping his pants, and they literally looked at her and said, oh, welcome to have an autistic kid. That's what they do. Bullshit. Bullshit. Your kid doesn't just shit his pants at 5 years old because he's autistic after he's been potty trained for 3 years. We've got to stop making exceptions for these kids. They're going to get nowhere in life if we continue to walk on eggshells and reward them for their bad behavior. There, I said it. I'm done. Rant over.
Some of my smartest students are going to fail my class this semester. These are students who are incredibly engaged. They listen, they engage in conversation, they ask questions. However, they're not doing the work. Now, I've had direct conversations with these students saying, what's going on? What can I help you with? And what I keep hearing often is that they don't feel motivated to do work outside of the classroom. Now, we kind of dug deeper and dissected that a little bit more. And really what is going on is they can't self-motivate themselves to do anything that they don't want to do in an independent setting where an adult or superior figure is telling them to do something. And I don't honestly know how to feel about it. I feel mixed emotions. Like, I'm sad to think that some of the students that, if I wasn't looking at my grade book and I was just looking in the classroom, I'd be like, those are the best students over there. But I know they're not going to pass my class. And they're not doing the work.
I'm a former teacher and now parent, and I can see a splitting that's happening in society, and it has nothing to do with politics. I did another video regarding this, having to do with a splitting regarding technology and moderation versus not. This is something entirely different, but connected. The splitting is parents who teach their kids versus those that don't. Why are teachers leaving in droves? And many of them are homeschooling their kids. If you were just leaving, it's one thing, but leaving and pulling your kids is a whole nother part. Generally speaking, here's what I saw. First of all, it is not cool to learn at all. It's not cool to be respectful to teachers or people in general. Being a victim is viewed as a good thing. And from a general sense, we have dumbed down schools. We are eliminating gifted classes, and just the class structure itself has changed. So what an honor student looks like today is not what it looked like 20 years ago. And the bottom, which used to be a baseline of had some semblance of knowledge and intellect, is now unable to read, unable to write, unable to think. And the school systems are passing these kids along regardless of that. Now, what teachers see is the dumbing down of society, the bringing everyone down. And so you might be the parent who's saying like, but I teach my kid, so they're going to be okay. Are they? Because if the school is now moving everything downward towards the bottom and having to deal with these bottom, is your kid being challenged, being pushed? Because what I've seen is that it now no longer is good to push through hard. If a kid complains and they're like, no, this is too hard, we are very quick to be like, all right, well, here's a way of making it easier. That's not how we grow. And it should be teachers who know this. But it doesn't help that they're not getting the support to push the upper level kids up higher. And because they're so busy with dealing with the bottom that they can't deal with the top. So then there's this split, and the top ones are not being challenged or pushed as much as they should be. And the bottoms are the ones being catered to, but it's so hard to move them anywhere with absolutely zero support from home. And that's what it all comes down to. The parents that spend time at home teaching their kid, pushing their kid, challenging their kid so that they excel and keep moving upward and learning how to deal with failure, are going to do so much more in life just in general than the ones who are continued to be like, it's okay. It's okay to be offended. It's okay that you can't read. It's okay that you can't do that. We're just going to push you along. We're just going to push you along. It's fine. And along with this, it's a total lack of emotional intelligence, which is why a kid tries something, fails, and then it's, I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'll never know this. Fixed mindset, closed mindset, and not having the mental capacity to understand that it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, and challenging things make you grow. That's why the thing is, whether the teacher leaves or doesn't leave, their kids are going to have a leg up because teachers realize that this is what's happening in schools and know that they have to challenge their kid more at home because it's not really going to be happening at school. And we're honestly seeing the beginning stages of the movie Idiocracy, where people get into society, they're kids that are going to become adults, where they can't read, they can't write, and they're so easily manipulated because they're always just flowing with the cool thing. And they're like, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Okay, I guess everyone else is doing this, so I'll just do it. There's absolutely no critical thinking. And that's how you end up with, wait, Gatorade is better because it has electrolytes. Come on, bruh. You should know that. And the thing is, that's moving towards the majority. So yeah, what are the things that are splitting us? It's the use of technology, it's the use of AI, and it is just plain and simple parents. And yes, the kids who only have one parent or divorced parents definitely are going to have an even tougher time with this, because that's a really hard thing to overcome given the school systems. So we are moving towards a haves and have-nots, but it's you have good parents or you don't. And because all this is going on, being a good parent is actually becoming easier, not harder. But that is if that parent has emotional intelligence and knows what's going on with schools to be able to realize that they're going to be the ones that have to challenge their kids. And that's just my thoughts of the day.
Hi, it's Monday and I'm coming to y'all a little early because I am just absolutely drained. I'm drained, and I did see a few TikToks last week that got me thinking, and I wanted to reiterate a few things. And that is that about 90% of my job in teaching is managing behavior. I know that I could teach anything, but if they're hanging from the ceiling, it's like corralling cats every day, and I mean feral cats. But it's about managing behavior, and I would like to reiterate that I do feel like it has everything to do with the fact that kids used to be more social. They used to be over at friends' house. They would play outside all day with the neighbors' kids. They would be in and out of their homes. And I don't know about you all, but when I was brought up, the village disciplined the kids, right? My parents' friends disciplined us. They held same standards, you know. They would tell us what we could and could not do, and I say that because the things that adults deem to be socially normal for kids are no longer there. Like, meaning we hold that expectation, but the kids can't adhere to it because it's not been ingrained in their souls, right? It's not been ingrained in their souls. I had to argue with a child today who went to get tissues. And when he picked up the box, there were no tissues in the box. And do you know what he did? He set the box back down and didn't dispose of the box. And when I said, do you think that you could throw that away? He said, I didn't do it. I didn't empty that box of Kleenex, so therefore I'm not going to dispose of it. Miss Walker, I'm going to go throw this away right now, even though you're up in the middle of lecture. Even though that's not, sit down. I'm doing something. And what's happening is that I'm now spending my waking days parenting over and over and over social norms. Hey, when this kid says, hey, can I have your orange because you're not going to eat it? And you allow him to, that doesn't mean to chuck it as hard as you can and hit him in the head with it. And I just want you all to think about the last time you had a 14-year-old that you occupied without a phone all day learning something. And I want you to take that 14-year-old and I want you to multiply it by 32 at 8:30 in the morning or 2:30, whatever.
This is my 13th year teaching high school and my 10th year teaching AP Lit, my 2nd year teaching AP Seminar. And I've noticed a troubling trend with my students over that period that has progressively gotten worse with a huge spike right after COVID that I can't not talk about it anymore. The trend is that teenagers, kids in general, are significantly less able to critically think or solve problems on their own without help. I've got examples. For example, they will type in, I've noticed this a lot in AP Seminar, they will type in one long, complicated search phrase. And when they don't immediately on the first page of results see exactly what they're looking for, they give up. And they come to me and they, instead of saying, how can I search better or what am I doing wrong? They go immediately to, well, there's no articles on my topic, so I need to pick a new topic. Like immediately giving up after one try of typing a question into a research database that is so complicated and conditional and convoluted that there's no way anybody would come up with results for it. Another example is this happens daily, literally daily in all of my classes, asking a question that is clearly and blatantly addressed in the step-by-step instructions for whatever it is they're doing. And then when I point out, oh, that's in the instructions, they still follow that up with, yeah, but you could just tell me, right? Related to that last example, if I give them an assignment with said step-by-step instructions, like my writing revision assignment, that is 8 very simple steps, every single time we do it, over 50% of my AP students miss one or more of the steps. This problem has gotten so severe that I have stopped regrading written revisions if all 8 of the steps are not followed. And these are not big steps. I'm talking like step 1 is copy and paste the essay from AP Classroom onto a Google Doc. That's step 1 by itself. Step 2 is color code the essay and I give them the key. Like these are very simple steps. These are not convoluted steps. I've started returning them and I won't regrade them until they can complete all 8 of the steps. This one seems minor and silly, but I think it's related and I think it's important. I have noticed a significant increase over the last few years of dumb, lazy grammatical errors, even when the students have spell check turned on, which blows my mind. Another big one, students asking for help on a writing assignment, and when I go to help them, it turns out they haven't even looked at the very detailed and extensive feedback that I've already provided them before asking the question. For example, student turns in a piece of writing. I give lots of feedback on that writing along with the AP score associated with the AP rubric for that piece of writing. They
go in to rewrite and revise that assignment in order to get more points. And in the process of their rewrite, they come to me to ask for help. And it becomes very clear once I start asking them questions that they have not even seen the feedback I've given. And when I ask them if they've read it, they say, oh, I didn't know that was there, even though it's very clearly on the page. And finally, just a general and blatant refusal to even attempt any kind of problem solving on their own. They will come ask me the most basic questions about functionality in Google Docs. How do I switch to suggesting mode? Even though that's clearly outlined with pictures in step-by-step instructions that I've given them, it's also a really simple Google question. Like pulling up Google and quickly saying how to switch to suggesting mode in Google Docs, or how to highlight text in Google Docs. Like something so banal is impossible for them to figure out on their own. I get asked 85,000 questions a day. And people talk about, with moms and teachers, like decision fatigue. I don't know if I'd call it decision fatigue, because most of these questions are so simple and basic that there's not really a decision that I have to make. But question fatigue, for sure. Having to answer questions that any self-respecting person should be able to figure out on their own with zero to no effort, but I'm answering them for 15 people in a row at any given point in the day. I think that's where some of the teacher burnout comes from. So drop a line in the comments and let me know what evidence, what examples do you see in your students of a loss of just basic problem solving, critical thinking skills. I am working on trying to adjust and account for that and kind of like force these kids to start thinking for themselves. I've stopped answering these questions with actual answers and started responding with questions in return to kind of force their brains to like kick in. And I've started, like I mentioned before, returning assignments that don't follow the instructions and saying, hey, I'm not going to grade this until you've followed all the instructions that are clearly laid out for you. Like, other than that, I'm not sure what else to do, but what other examples of this have you noticed?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a hot mess. Okay. It seems like every grade level of every part of this country is experiencing this type of stuff. And the teachers, it sounds like they genuinely love the job, but that love is just not strong enough to keep them in. And they are walking away, mid-year, weeks before the school year even starts, like Fort Worth ISD's case. It for sure seems like something is broken, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on or what it is. Is it the school? Is it beyond the school? Is it beyond the district? Let me know if you're a teacher or a parent. Let us know in the comments what's really going on out there. I genuinely want to know. I have a daughter. I want to make sure that she's coming up in the right spots. Luckily, my wife is really great, and she's going to be able to do that. But there are a lot of others who don't necessarily have that. And anything that you put down in the comments is going to help us all out. If you made it to this part of the video, you are absolutely legendary. Make sure you like this video for the algorithm, and go ahead and subscribe while you're here for more videos as well. And I'll see you in the next one.